Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. It's Megan and today I'm going to be doing my February wrap-up. Today is February 28th, so this is the final day. I do believe I will finish one of these books this evening, so I'm just going to count it as part of the wrap-up, and I'm also going to touch on some that I'm halfway slash sort of through. But without further ado, let's jump into it. First, I read the volumes 6 through 10 of Fruits Basket. This is still one of my favorite graphic novels slash mangas of all time that I've read. In this, we are following Toru Honda, who is an orphan and is living on her own in the woods in a tent. She gets taken in by her classmates and comes to find out that they are being possessed by vicious Chinese vengeful spirits. And in each of the manga, we are discovering who is which spirit, and it's a lot of fun. Next, of course, I did my reread of Siege and Storm by Leigh Bardugo. This is the second book of the Shadow and Bone trilogy, in which we are following Alina, who is an orphan turned sun summoner and is destined to save the world. Next, I continued the selection series by reading Happily Ever After. The reason I didn't go straight into it is because I discovered that these are short stories set directly after the original trilogy of the Selection, the Elite, and the One, and then you read these and then you go into the Crown and the Heir, or the Heir and the Crown, whichever way it is, but you do read these first before the Crown and the Heir because it's following the main characters from that original trilogy. I did love these backstories. I loved Maxon's point of view the most, and I loved getting Marley's perspective on things, and I really enjoyed. Next, I read The Beauty That Remains by Ashley Woodfolk, in which we are following three teens who are going through loss. One loses their sister, one loses a best friend, and one loses a boyfriend. So it was interesting because it's a lot about grief and what remains after the loved one is gone. I really did think it was a powerful read. However, it wasn't my favorite kind of story because it was jumping a lot, and I never really felt connected to the characters as a whole, so I ended up giving this one 3 stars, but I still think the concept and like the idea of the story was really good. Next was Chosen by Kiersten White. This is the second and final book, I believe, of the Slayer duology, in which we are following twins set in the Buffy the Vampire universe. And these twins, one is destined to save the world and one is destined to end it. I did enjoy this, however, I really did not like one of the twins, so I ended up giving it 4 stars. Next, I read I Want to Be Where You Are by Christina Forrest, in which we are following a girl who all she wants to do is be a ballet dancer. However, her mom is very skeptical of leaving her on her own because this academy for ballet has opened, but the catch is that she has to spend her senior year of high school in New York to participate, and it's not open to anyone outside of high school. And again, her mom's skeptical. They lost her father due to a tragic car accident, and now her mother is a little bit overprotective and is not allowing Chloe to go on this audition. However, Chloe's mom ends up going on a cruise ship the week of auditions, so Chloe finagles her way into a road trip with her neighbor Eli and the cutest dog I think I've read in some sort of story, and it was just a lot of fun. Very lighthearted, very well, it was lighthearted, but at the same time it delved into some powerful topics, so yeah, definitely check it out. I gave it 4 stars. Next was Leah on the Offbeat by Becky Abertali. This is the story of Leah from Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens, in which we're following her journey through being bisexual and having a crush on both a boy and a girl, and also going to college and prom and all that good stuff. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. It was really fun to get Leah's perspective on things. She wasn't my favorite character in Simon, so I'm glad that I liked her in this novel. I actually related to her pretty heavily on some things. On top of this, I don't own the physical copy, but I did also read Love Creekwood, which I ended up giving, I think, 3 stars because it's told in the perspective of all email format, which in theory is okay, but when you read it as an audiobook and 50% of the audiobook is just listening to who is receiving the email and who it's coming from, it got a little tedious. So it wasn't my favorite, and I didn't really take a lot from that book, so I probably won't purchase it, but yeah. Next is Little and Lion by Brandy Colbert. This is a story of Suzette and Lionel, who are not quite step siblings because their parents aren't married, but they live together and were now siblings essentially. Suzette is bisexual and Lionel is bipolar, and they both like the same girl, so as you can imagine, lots of stuff ensues. I gave this one 4 stars as well. Next, I read Dear Martin by Nick Stone, in which we are following Justice, who is on the kind of a, I don't know what the word is, goal of becoming more like Martin Luther King Jr. in a like prep school or private school, and it's just dealing with being one of the only black people there and the racism that ensues with that, and then also having a black friend who isn't really seeing the side of things that Justice is seeing. And one day something pretty tragic happens and Justice has to deal with the repercussions of that. So yeah, I ended up giving this one 4 stars. And then I also gave 4 stars to Dear Justice, which is the kind of sequel in which we are following a young black boy who knows justice and ends up getting wrongfully convicted of a murder. So both perspectives, very different, but both very much needed. Next, I read Girl Gone Viral and First Comes Like, which are the 2nd and 3rd books of the Modern Love trilogy by Alicia Rye. It starts with The Right Swipe. Girl Gone Viral is about Katrina, who is an ex-model, and she sometimes gets panic attacks and is working her way into being in the public eye again. And one day when she is at a coffee shop, the place is really crowded, so a man sits down with her. They talk a little bit, but nothing really comes of it. However, someone at a nearby table makes it a meet cute and derives their own story from this interaction, and basically creates a fake story, and it goes viral on Twitter. And now Katrina is dealing with like the panic of being found out and who she is, and just her privacy being twisted in a way that wasn't really her. So I thought that was really powerful. And then next was First Comes Like, in which we are following Gia, who is a YouTuber in like makeup and hairstyles and just self-love. And she is catfished by a famous Bollywood movie star, and when she confronts him, they ended up fake dating and falling in love. So I love these. I'll go into more depth on my thoughts for these because I'm going to do a review of the trilogy, and I'm excited to share that with you guys, so stay tuned. I gave both of these 5 stars. I finished the Throne of Glass series finally and read Kingdom of Ash, and it was as good as I thought it was going to be. However, I do believe I'm going to say some spoilers, so if you haven't read Kingdom of Ash, or if you don't want spoilers or that sort of thing, come back when this book is down. But I personally believe that Sarah J. Maas has a tendency to write like endings that tie up too neatly and don't really have any tragedy. Like, it's just not really true that an entire cast of characters could make it through a war. So that's just my 2 cents, but I did sob at one specific point. I'm not gonna go that spoilery. I was sobbing at one point with the Witch Tower. We'll just leave it at that. But that is all. Speaking of finishing a series, I finished the Renegades trilogy by Marissa Meyer, and I read Arch Enemies and Supernova to do so. Holy cow, you guys, probably one of my favorite series of all time now. Renegades is the story of the Renegades and the Anarchists, and they are at odds. They're both kind of morally gray sides of things. However, the Renegades have been put on a pedestal as the superheroes, And we're following Nova, who was raised by the anarchists, and Adrian, who was raised by the Renegades. And Nova, the anarchist, actually, no one knows who she is, so she infiltrates the Renegades as a spy, and it's just so good. Adrian and Nova end up having some sort of relationship, and I loved it. So I was shook at the end of Supernova, like the epilogue threw me for a loop, and I hope we get more in this world, but I do believe that this is all we're gonna get, unfortunately. But I'm really excited for Marissa Meyer's new book coming out. I think it's called Gilded, and it is a retelling of Rumpelstiltskin, so can't wait for that one. And finally, for the books I finished in this month, we have Slay by Brittany Morris. In this, we are following Kiara, and she is a girl gamer slash like coder, and ends up creating this online multi-role player game called Slay, and it is only for Black people. It is very Black centric, and really only Black people would get it. And one day a boy from the game is killed because of a dispute that went on because of the game, and Slay is brought into the public light. People are then calling for her alias on this game is called Emerald, so people are calling for Emerald to come forth and take ownership of the boy's death. And she's just debating what is going to be best for her. Should she reveal herself? Should she stand up for Black people? That kind of thing, because people are calling the game racist. And honestly, this was probably my favorite book of the month. It was so good because it was both real but also like fantasy at the same time. I loved getting to hear about this world, and like Black voices in like hard topics are so important, but Black voices doing fun things are also really important. So yes, I highly recommend Slay to anyone who's interested in that sort of realm. If you enjoyed, I would pitch it as Warcross meets The Hate U Give. Yeah. Hi friends, Editing Megan here, and I just realized that I forgot some of the books I read because I didn't have physical copies, and sometimes those just kind of get lost in the shuffle when I don't have a physical copy. So the first one I read is Sweet Dreams, an e-arc from J. Clarice, or not arc, but just a book for review by J. Clarice, and I'll be doing a full review on that in another book review video, so stay tuned for that. And then I also read 3 volumes of Dragon Ball. I read volumes 13, 14, and 15, so all I have left is volume 16, and I'm complete with the original Dragon Ball manga series. So very excited about that, and I will head back to the video now. And then I am reading The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I have 30 minutes left on my audiobook. It's only like 8 o'clock, so I do believe I will finish this tonight. And based on how it's going so far, I do truly believe I will give this 5 stars. I went into it with really low expectations because a lot of my friends said that they didn't like it as much as they thought they were going to. And I think that worked out in my favor because I loved it. So if you don't know, Addie LaRue is the story of Addie, who sells her soul to the, for lack of a better term, devil of this world in exchange for a longer life. And during this deal, Addie gets stuck with everyone forgetting who she is. So every person she meets is going to forget her until one day she meets Henry, who has his own curse set upon him, and you learn more about that later. But it's a really, really lovely book. It talks, like, it feels like it spoke to my soul at some points, and I just really loved it. And finally, the 3 books I'm currently reading, hoping, definitely won't finish them tonight, but hoping to finish them within the next, like, day or 2. I have Legend Born by Tracy Dion, which was part of my book Game of TBR for February, so definitely need to get to this one and finish it ASAP. It is a Black Girl Magic King Arthur retelling, and it's so good so far. Next, I'm reading Find Me Their Bones, the sequel to Bring Me Their Hearts. This I actually just found out from one of my commenters, I believe, that it was originally published in Germany, and that's why it's not as well known. So if you haven't heard of it, Bring Me Their Hearts is about Zara, who is a heartless, or someone who is controlled by a witch and no longer like has freedom. And Zara has been offered a exchange that if she can win and steal the prince's heart, literally like take his heart and bring it back to the witches, she can have her own back, as well as the 2 other heartless of her family. So of course she goes on this quest and ends up falling in love with the prince, and so on and so forth. So this is the sequel to that. And finally, I've been reading The Lives of Saints. And the thing I will say about this is I absolutely love the illustrations in here. I mean, like, look how beautiful they are. I will also say that based on the table of contents, I would recommend reading this after Siege and Storm and before Six of Crows. So if you want to read it like right after the original Shadow and Bone trilogy, or like during your read of Ruin and Rising, it would work. But especially the last story, don't read till after Ruin and Rising. So just kind of read it between the original trilogy and the Six of Crows duology. That's my recommendation. Those are all the books I've read or am reading for February. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know in the comments down below what you read, what your favorite books were, and I'll check in with you in my next one. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye, friends!